Alright, we've got, should be a nice big update. Should make some of y'all happy, I think. Got 3 boxes to go through, so we're just putting them down one at a time. Trying not to accidentally... My angle there is not very good, but you know, this is open enough that I should be able to. Yeah, try not to, you know, scratch any of the DVD on the inside. I'm not sure how much I needed that one. This one is a Right Stuff package. Oof. How nice of it to have fallen out that way. And then we've got one more Amazon package. This is probably going to be a long video now I think about it. Let's see. I see it all the way down there because I see at the top here is YashaHime. So I need to get the DVD and the Blu-ray versions. We've got let's open this DVD version first. So yeah, there are interesting things on the back here. DVD Region 1. Well, I'm pretty sure it's dubbed. Most vid stuff is anyways. Oh, Spy Family. Season 2 is about to start. Okay, I was going to say Yatsu, but I see more Rumiko Takahashi characters. YashaHime. The adverts are neat. Let's get this Blu-ray open because I assume the discs look very similar between the Blu-ray and the DVD version, but that's what Viz tends to do. This contains information on it, so let's see, that's a Region A. Seems pretty normal for Viz stuff. So now let's see. If we take a look at the Blu-ray, we've got the same inserts. Different discs. Okay. Which kind of makes it worthwhile. Okay, yeah, there's only 2 discs in both, but this one has anime characters on it, which is nicer. Granted, you don't look at the discs themselves as much. Okay, these aren't postcards. This is actually one of these gold bordered display things. Although much bigger than the ones that I've gotten before. I'm not sure if I picked up what's in this booklet precisely, or even approximately. Okay. Yeah, okay. Mostly just needing to go through this stuff quickly. We've got Wreck the Girlfriend, Season 2. Maybe this is an excuse to finally watch Season 2. I didn't watch it while it was aired, but I originally watched it dubbed, so that's ooh, I like it when it's different underneath the slip cover. And this is sticking on the front, so it's not coming off as easily as it should. You can see some of it stayed behind. Let's see. Anything interesting we can determine about this? Regions A and B. That's video, audio. That's English and Japanese, so English dub. Okay. I thought I heard something that sounded like maybe a loose piece of plastic. It's a good question of how much I remember all these characters, I suppose. I remember these two. Were those two there or not? Not sure. Lupin the Third, Lupin Zero. Actually, this one just called Lupin Zero on Blu-ray. Oh, that's a little annoying. You know what? This is still out and right next to me, so instead of thinking, all I need is something to apply friction on the inside here real fast. Okay, this plastic is being really annoying today. Jesus, come on. It keeps sticking to the front, and this is just pissing me off. I can also feel... Oh my god. And now it's just coming apart. I could feel that I had gotten underneath the thing there. No, it was folded underneath. So, a slight packing defect, but whatever. Just the single zip disc. Go Nagai World, or World of Go Nagai, or something like that. I suppose it says probably, yeah, Go Nagai World. Trying to remember. I thought the DVD version of this was one of those things where I'm not sure if it actually came out or not. So neat that it's out here on Blu-ray. Did I actually check the back here to see region A only, audio, Japanese with English subtitles? Okay, good to know. And on here we have region A only, Japanese with English subtitles. Interesting. So it's like these two characters are on the slipcover, but there's more to it. So that's kind of not only a different thing, but also a neat difference. It's on the disc. Okay, not exactly an invertible cover per se, but you could still get away with doing that if you wanted, I think. Interesting. Next up comes the right stuff release, which is Licorice Recoil. I hesitate to pronounce it licorice, first of all because I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, and second of all because it sounds a lot like licorice, and I don't know, something about that just gives my gut feeling that that's not the right way to pronounce it. It feels like this is small enough I can probably just toss that aside. This is definitely not your usual Aniplex release. Is this Aniplex? Looks like it based on the back. English and Japanese, okay. I'm pretty sure I didn't have this already, but could I be misremembering? Artwork doesn't strike me as familiar. My big fear is if I've just bought a complete collection version of something that I already have. Interesting. Is there a number on here? Disc 2. This is original soundtrack disc 2. Okay. So this is original soundtrack disc 1. Okay. Yeah, there we go. I couldn't see the disc 1 there. Guess there's a little 3 on that coffee cup. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then we've got it's opening up really easily, so I'm not flipping through the pages, but I do see what looks like a lot of character bios, some artwork, some pretty stereotypical stuff. And this, which was on the inside and not outside, which is a little bit from the reverse. A little bit reversed. Okay, interesting. Next up comes a Gatchaman on Blu-ray, which, again, I don't know if I have this already on Blu-ray or not, so whatever. Now, if I, worst case, I have it twice. If I ever go through my... Interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Look at that. Plastic. Those are some pretty big chunks to have fallen off, too. But that's go through what's here. 10, 11, 12. Okay, so there's little bits of plastic still falling out. But that's just, I guess, the interesting nature of this slight shipping disaster. I can't help but think that I did already have this on Blu-ray. So sounds better. And then here we had more discs. Okay. Let's take a look real quick. Region A, English with Japanese, and this one is... So dubs on both. Okay, somewhere there I think there's a piece of plastic that I missed. There we go. That's getting a little tall there. Next up we have another Magical Girl Lyrical Nanoha. This one is Detonation. Which I'm fairly certain is different from the other one. Hold on. The other one's right here. The other one was Reflection. Okay. But while I watched the first 2 seasons of Nanoha as they aired, I'm trying to remember if I watched the first season of Nanoha as it aired. I remember season 2, yeah. Region A. Right. Okay, two Japanese subtitle tracks. Okay. Okay. Well, based on their names, I don't know exactly what they are, so I got some figuring out to do. Lonely Castle in the Mirror, Blu-ray. Don't think I saw a DVD version. Well, let's get this plastic off first, especially since a lot of these plastics have been annoying. This one's being a lot more cooperative. Very nice. Alright, now taking a look at the back. That's a region A. Okay, so there is an English dub. That's kind of what I was curious about. I kind of expected one. Since I do believe G-Kids tends to have dubs for everything. Maybe I'm not sure. Nice, straightforward. Then last but not least, we have Sergeant Frog complete 3rd and 4th seasons. Get it opened up. So Japanese with English subtitles only. I expected that. It's a little unfortunate, but expected. Because, like, if you started watching it dubbed a long time ago, then, yeah. Pretty much, you already knew that you had to switch to subtitled if you were going to watch the rest of it. At least I think this is the rest of it. I can swear I've seen that image before. But I don't know. I think it looks like that's everything. So here's this week's anime Blu-ray collection update. Alright, let's begin. One Piece Season 13 Voyage 3. Oh, which reminds me, I can pull it up because I actually watch it. So, you know, my Friday friend was back. We went through all of this. And I'd say it was pretty entertaining. Some of the stuff that's happened in it is... I think it began feeling a little bit slow and a little bit... I think I kind of had a similar feeling with the previous volume where I kind of felt like... Jesus, sorry, I started talking and the yawn came out of nowhere. And now y'all are all yawning. Sorry about that. Where I almost felt like... Theming-wise, it was a little bit of back and forth. I felt like it was kind of still sort of there in a different way here in this volume, but then more stuff developed and built up, and I'm definitely becoming a little more interested in what this arc is doing and potentially doing. Some of the twists I would say were maybe twists that I expected. I think there were maybe a couple I didn't. But overall, it is shaping up to be kind of... I don't know. I guess my friend described... One of the reasons he liked the Crocodile arc of One Piece is Crocodile felt like he was very ambitious. Not just like, oh, powerful, but also he was doing something kind of big picture-y in his own way that didn't feel like he was like just some villain put in the seat of power, which is what a lot of the bad guys kind of have been. And this one, it feels like it's not just that, I suppose. I think it feels like it's above some of that to a certain degree, and I think there's interesting pieces of information that also came out. Yeah, not sure what else I would really say about it. Just enjoyed it and... Can I think of anything in particular to say? I don't know. Guess I'm curious where it'll go. Hulk episode 12? Let's see. And it feels like it was so long ago that I could have sworn I already talked about this last week. But, I don't know. This past week has just been long, apparently. But I do remember with episode 12, it sort of felt like, okay, if this is the end of a season or a core and there's going to be a little bit of break, if there's going to be a break, then I suppose it sort of felt like it deliberately did that. But it also felt like it wasn't necessarily done well, I suppose, because they were about to talk about something that's very important to the series. It's like, okay, well, if this is supposed to be a hanger, I guess I could sort of understand. But the real problem in a nutshell was that it did that, and then it had like 10 minutes of, I guess, maybe it wasn't quite 10 minutes, but it still felt like a lot of episode time was dedicated to some Hulk theater sort of stuff, I suppose. I forgot what they called it. But it did feel like, okay, they kind of didn't have enough material to fill out this episode and ended it. And I'm just glad that it sounds like the next episode is tomorrow, because the things that have been happening in it have been interesting, and I definitely want to hear more. But I'm also not sure what tomorrow looks like, because, you know, we're in the middle of the new anime season starting, and I don't remember what else might be coming out tomorrow and these coming days, per se. Let's see. Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts, episode 24. I'd say, yeah, they pretty much wrapped things up, and I really liked where it went and how it wrapped up. If there's any more to it, I'd be a little surprised, but there are definitely other things about it that could be interesting and that I would like to see, I suppose. But no, overall, I thought it was a pretty great series. Undead Murder Farce, episode 13. Like I said, episode 12, if that had been like a core season finale, that would have been bad. Episode 13 was a lot better, and I think kind of their mystery stuff that they did and revealed and talked about related to the last story arc, actually I thought was pretty surprising and satisfying. So overall, fine episode 13, I would say. I don't think episode 14 is airing soon, but it didn't end the series, so there's definitely going to be, more to it, either manga or another series, or just never continues. But here's hoping we get another series at some point, because I thought it was pretty enjoyable. My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned, an S-Rank Adventure, episode 1. I thought this was a bad first episode. I mean, it may be a good first episode, but if it is, then it's not a good series. Or at least by my opinion. The main problem I'd say with it is the fundamental premise sounds like, okay, there's something they could do with it, but you kind of look at that time like, okay, well, what are you planning to do with that? Is this a story where I'm going to see her doing cool S-Rank adventure stuff? Is this a thing where I'm going to see her come back and him and her kind of having a sort of slice of life, but she's an adventure, like that one where the one guy got released from the heroes party and he decided to retire in the suburbs, or whatever that one was called. Is it going to be something like that? And this is why the first episode I think was bad, is because it's like, who knows? It didn't actually dedicate itself to anything. Worst case, if the rest of it is supposed to be just like this one episode, then it feels like it's going to be a bunch of nothing burger or something like that. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe it was just a kind of first episode, and maybe this is a series where in order to really know whether or not you're going to enjoy it, you have to go with the 3-episode rule. But all I can do is watch the next episode and maybe the one after that and find out. And maybe I'll continue watching it. But it's like, yeah, I felt problematic, because when it's like, okay, she's an S-Rank adventurer, and they did kind of show stuff that shows that she's an S-Rank adventurer, but really they only did it once, and everything else was just not really being it. So like, at the very, very, very beginning, they showed people kind of struggling against this thing, and then she hits it with a finishing sword attack, which it just shows, okay, yeah, she did a good job. And that's fine for showing her an S-Rank adventure, that does a good job, but then everything else after that is just sort of not really showing anything, it's just saying stuff. So it's more of a, it's not even doing show don't tell, because while it's pretending it's showing, it's still just telling them. It's like, oh, she's going to fight this swarm of monsters attacking this one town. Well, they don't show her doing it, they just kind of show her being angry about it, and then we know that she did it, but it's not really, okay, we're not seeing how she's an S-Rank adventurer, how she compares to other people, her doing cool, awesome stuff, so it doesn't really count in that regard. And then when it comes to the relationship between her and her dad, that actually looked a lot more promising. Like, there are little things at the very beginning that were good, but then it's not that, because, if it was supposed to be kind of that, it would have been him, like, reading about this stuff, and maybe him imagining some of this stuff, and he can't really imagine it, because, like, no, she's way beyond me, but it wasn't even showing that. So it wasn't about the homeliness of him being at home, even though there were a lot of scenes like that, but it just kind of kept going back and forth. It was really hard to tell what kind of show are you going to be. It would be better if they never showed her from her perspective, but rather him imagining her through her letter perspective or something like that, if they were going for that. But I digress. Again, a problematic first episode. I think if you liked it, that's fine. It just didn't give me it didn't help me figure out what sort of feeling to kind of go for watching this. Rurouni Kenshin 2023 episode 13. Nice episode, as Rurouni Kenshin 2023 continues to be, I think. Again, I continue to not have very solid thoughts on that. Excuse me. This yawned right when I was just trying to talk about the next thing, Reign of the Seven Spellblades, episode 13. So the thing that surprised me about this episode is I could have sworn that it was maybe going for some sort of season or core finale. But I guess it's going for a full 2-core season at least. Because episode 13 didn't end at anything that could be called a breaking point. And just like a lot of Reign of the Seven Spellblades fashion, it almost feels like there's things that happen, but it's hard to tell if they feel thematically relevant. Almost like the show just keeps doing this neat thing, then that neat thing. I'm not sure if there was a lot of good lamp shading. And I could give a direct example, but I don't want to because I consider that one to be a little spoiler. But it's just continuing to be the same strange series it has been. I watched the first 2 episodes of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I know 4 episodes came out, but I definitely was barely feeling an anime watching mood for the past couple of days. And even then I watched a lot of stuff, so, I didn't push myself there. But I think Frieren does a really good example of being a good first episode. Because in this case, even if you couldn't guess what kind of show it would be about, the first episode pretty much confirms it. I know this is a show which is about our main character, who is a long-lived elf. She was on the hero's party, and she doesn't understand, maybe not understand, she doesn't understand because she doesn't feel the concept of just how much time moves quicker for the other non-elf races. And to a certain degree, it's somber, it's her reflecting on a lot of that stuff. That's what you would expect it to be, and it shows that's what it is, and it's executed in a way that's just kind of nice. And if you are really into that sort of thing, then I think it would be absolutely great. I mean, a lot of people already had high praise for it, and it's just really weird. So if you didn't catch on from the way I talked about it, it's actually being released 4 episodes at a time. So like 2 episodes have already aired. Sorry, 4 episodes already aired. I only watched 2, but it's my understanding that 4 more are coming out in later this week. So yeah, kind of surprising, but I could sort of understand because this one doesn't feel like a show that's necessarily I guess generated episode to episode. There's things about it that kind of remind me of the old OVA anime, and how it's like there's a much more concise plan that's already been well defined and stuff. And yeah, I'm curious to see more. I just didn't have the energy to again go beyond episode 2 when there were so many other episodes I haven't watched. I'm not even sure if I've watched everything that I queued up. But let's go on. Next up is Am I Actually the Strongest? Episode 12. I was trying to see if that was one of the only continuing things. An okay episode, I would say. Again, the main problem with Am I Actually the Strongest continues to just be, I guess it's hard to say what we should be feeling and expecting. It's not necessarily bad stuff, but hard to say what in there comes from a theme or something like that. I don't know. Was it a season finale? Maybe. I guess it's kind of hard to say because while there are talks about certain elements at play, I'm not quite sure if it left off in a place where it's just like, yeah, season finale, or if there's supposed to be one more episode. Maybe it did, and I'm just not remembering. Now we're starting to get into newer stuff. Ragna Crimson, episode 1. I thought this was actually pretty good. First of all, I really liked the interaction between our main 2 characters. It was very unusual, and they've introduced one or two other people that seem to be extended part of that. It feels like they're going to be important as it goes, but you know, it's an interesting dynamic where, okay, that one character doesn't work out initially because he comes off as a bit of an unnecessary asshole, but you know, we've seen those characters turn into characters that's like, okay, I actually kind of respect this person a whole lot now and appreciate them a lot more. Like, they didn't need to be the asshole that time, but whatever. But a lot of this one, it's just really great with its setup, and definitely I want to see where it goes beyond what this first episode set up, because you kind of have a pretty good idea of what it's going to do and why certain things have happened. You know, it doesn't feel like it's like a big surprise per se, but sometimes it's not always about, oh, it came up with an idea that nobody knew. Sometimes it's about execution, and I felt the execution of this one was actually very nice. So definitely looking forward to more of it. Berserk of Gluttony, Episode 1. There's certain elements of the world that kind of have me scratching my head, but in terms of a power fantasy sort of anime, it seems to be building up in an interesting way, to a point where I definitely want to see a bit more of it. I'm trying to think if I can have any more blatant thoughts or something like that. But you know, our main character believes his ability is bad, but he's, because of the negative events that happened in the first episode, he's beginning to find out, okay, things are starting to get a little hopey. And I guess it felt like it went a little bit further than most very first episodes go, but it also didn't quite get far enough into what a second episode would usually cover. Specifically, it's like, okay, I guess we're about to kind of see what he's been doing a little bit more in action, so to speak. And I'm kind of curious to see what happens. So, yeah, decent first episode, I would say. Shangri-La Frontier, Episode 1. Let's see. What exactly happened in this? Okay. I guess I would say that it's an okay setup. The main problem is I don't feel like we as an audience have a really good feel for... I guess it could use somebody else for us to look at and kind of gauge our character. That's right. Because the main premise of it is our main character normally does trash games, but he's enjoying this well-made public game, I guess. And the idea, I think, is supposed to be that because it's so well-made and not actually buggy and stuff like that, his exceptional skills in just operating VR stuff in general may make him either overpowered or maybe not overpowered, maybe just like his thinking would be very orthogonal and counter to people's expectations and possibly really cool in that regard. And it never quite reached the point where I guess we can tell just from the first episode. It's not necessarily bad, but it's definitely more of a setup episode that I felt pretty enjoying at the time. So we're just going to have to see what the rest of it does, because you know, this could easily go downhill. It could easily stay mediocre. It could say, okay, yeah, this will be really good. But I think this is a series where you definitely have to give it 3 episodes to know for certain. But it's really hard to say because I've only seen the first episode. We've all only seen the first episode, so we'll have to see. The family circumstances of the irregular witch, Episode 1. I didn't care for it. If I were to say what specifically is off-putting to me about it, it's that the daughter character, Viola, maybe it was. I don't know if the show actually knows what it's trying to do with her. And maybe it is, and I'm the only one who's just kind of confused, but you know, that general feeling does make it hard for you to find a lot of motivation to want to watch more. And there's 2 episodes, I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to watch episode 2. So my main problem with Viola is the show seems to be confused on making her 3 separate contradictory things at the same time. I say seems to be because, there can be some explanation for this. But the question is, what age is she? And the show seems to simultaneously want her to be 5 years old and 13 years old and 16 years old at the same time. And the 16-year-old part mostly comes from her just being well developed and not actually any of her behavioral stuff. But it's like, okay, they wanted to draw her as a sexy woman that acts like a immature little kid, I guess. But some of the other things, like, oh yeah, it's puberty. It's like, she probably went through puberty 3 years ago. And so it's kind of weird for it to talk about that sort of stuff and what she maybe feel, because I feel like if it's trying to say that she's 16 and she's already gone through puberty like that, there should be things about her that are different. But they kind of want to keep her at that, right around that 12, 13 age range mentally, as if like that's not a thing. And it's confusing. But then to make matters worse, at the very beginning of the episode, she throws a temper tantrum like a spoiled 5-year-old. And at 16, that's kind of, okay, I guess the idea is she's supposed to be very babied and I guess super isolated, but I don't know, to me it just doesn't mix well together, and that was just her. Everything else is just like, it's a 4 coma. I think that's what they call those 4-panel comics, I think. So it's a little more silly, whimsical, kind of needing to be fun. And I guess I mostly crave things which have something resembling story, I suppose, maybe. I'm speculating a bit here. I'm just really trying to sort through my own emotions and feelings as I went through it, just in case there's something useful there for y'all. But, yeah, that. Dark Gathering, episode 13. It sort of feels like, as it continues to go into the later and later parts here, that the ghosts feel slightly less ghost-like. And you may recall that I mentioned this in the previous episode, I suppose. But I kind of had an issue with this one because they established, okay, this one ghost that they're dealing with, which isn't the one that they were going to, but rather another one that our main character has dealt with before, and put them somewhere. Well, it kind of feels like it raises the question of how did she manage to set this up so that they'd be able to do stuff or something. I don't know. It feels a little out of place. Not necessarily bad. They're setting up more characters that seem to be bad guys, I suppose. Antagonists, maybe the better word I was looking for. But I'm not sure what to think about it. Overall, I guess it's just like, yeah, I guess I'm watching. It doesn't feel like the strongest material to me, but we'll see what the rest of it brings. Let's see. The Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy, episode 1. An okay setup for the first episode. I say okay because, like a lot of these other ones, I think it's going to be hard to tell what we're going to think about this episode long term, or this series long term, just from the first episode alone. Neat things happened, and maybe we know more than the characters or something like that, but it's more like, I guess it kind of established some interesting stuff. We need to see in the next episode what I guess this means our main character's day-to-day is going to be like, I suppose. How to put what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling. Basically, I guess there's some interesting stuff that's been set up, but we're not... I guess I'm not a big fan of shows that are like, okay, and now we have to all hide this thing and pretend it's not there. It tends to lead to some moments that I tend to find pretty cringe, I suppose. And this one hasn't said it's going to do that yet, but I do have to wonder, okay, what all is going to happen? And I can't really tell, and it could make or break it. So I need to see more than episode 1. Let's see, a playthrough of a certain dude's VR MMO Life, episode 1. It's an okay first episode, I would say. I guess the setup works because the basic idea is our main character is a big fan of, I guess, just kind of doing his own thing. And so in order to do that, he's like, I'm going to choose things that in the beta were determined to be really bad abilities so that nobody will want to mess with him, because he's a salaryman. He's 38 years old, so it's closer to my age and maybe some of y'all's age. I don't know. I'm not sure what y'all's average age is. Probably don't post about that in the comments. It was just a thought. But, the point is, he's kind of off doing his own thing, and then for reasons that are quite surprising, it turns out maybe his choices weren't so bad after all. And I guess we're going to have to see what the further consequences of that are, because it's a little bit surprising to a certain degree. But, yeah. Some elements of it were questionable, but not bad, because it kind of got through them really quick. Like, for example, and I mentioned that for Log Horizon, I just kind of didn't have the right feeling. Like, why would our main characters be the only ones who would have figured out that cooking for real would make things taste real good? I wonder if that's a spoiler, but I don't know. It's in both these shows, and this one at least, it's like, it's not a major plot driving elements, so it's just kind of a quick, interesting aside that does lead to further developments that are interesting and, again, unique to our main character. But I guess we'll have to see where it goes from here, because otherwise it didn't feel like it really gave a forward direction per se. It feels like it could be very easily something that you just kind of get to a day-to-day life, and the show doesn't know what to do after that. So, curious where it goes. And then last but not least, on the new things watched, Ron Kamonohashi's Forbidden Deductions, episode 1. I would actually say it was a pretty good first episode. Some elements of it are kind of nonsensical. Like, they just don't make sense at all. But, you know, it's whatever. We take it for granted because they want to give us something interesting that goes alongside, I guess, our main characters, or our titular characters, interesting deductive stuff. And I have to say, it felt very refreshing, like it covered things that I hadn't seen covered before. So it didn't reuse, like, a common detective trope sort of thing. It just kind of executed it well. So I'm definitely curious to see more of that. I may watch more of that. And, of course, I'm going to have to figure out how to juggle all of this stuff, because we've only gotten through, like, stuff starting last week, and I think even more stuff is starting this week, including second season of Eminence and Shadow, which I think we are all looking forward to. But I digress. I guess it's on my list to mention, but Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead, episodes 10 through 12, it sounds like those have been indefinitely suspended. Like, nobody knows when they're supposed to come out. Here's hoping for all the best things, but with all the delays that have already happened, I'm guessing, yeah, maybe they ran out of budget or ran out of the time slot that they could fall back on. Oh well, here's hoping. So, anything else? Well, I haven't watched the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie yet, and I've also yet to watch, I say yet to watch, and y'all didn't know this, but I've heard good things about the Netflix One Piece series. And so I think I am planning to watch that and think about and comment on it. But for that one, it made the most sense to time it around when my Friday friend would be able to watch it, because we've been watching One Piece for 800 episodes, so we might as well watch the Netflix version of it together. He was maybe going to potentially watch it if I wasn't going to, but, you know, normally I wouldn't if I had heard mediocre or bad things about it, but considering I've only heard good things, at this point I want to give it my own watch and my own thoughts. So, you can expect that in the future. Anything else? Dead by Daylight. I finally unlocked all the perks and all the survivors and all the killers. It only took 1,575 hours. I've been shortening it to 1,500 hours for people's sake because that's a little easier to say and a little easier to type out. But I'm giving you all the full... That's how many hours Steam said I had played. As for my devotion in game, it was Devotion 6, level 63. So 663 for those of you who play it. And if you're playing Dead by Daylight, like, oh, is that when I can expect to do it? I would say not necessarily, with the main problem being that I got to take advantage of the fact that when they reworked the way perks and perk progression and perk unlocking worked, I got to take advantage of the fact that I got absolutely everybody that existed at that time already to Prestige 1, which instantly got them to Prestige 3. So I got to jump a lot of prestige levels for a lot of characters, and most people won't be able to do that. But that said, you may also be able to do it faster because I don't really play to win, so my blood points tends to be only high because of bonus, like the plus 100% to killer stuff, and the sometimes people bring like bloody party streamers, etc. But you know, anyways, I digress. What am I planning to do in Dead by Daylight now? Well, of course, unlock more characters as they come out. But, I think extra blood points are going to go into Michael Myers. Mostly because his add-ons give you forms of gameplay that are absolutely completely different from other forms of Michael Myers. In particular, I want more of the mirrors. Scratch mirrors and vanity mirror, because they make for a fun, engaging Michael Myers gameplay that you know, jump scare Myers. He's got a fucking name. I'm probably not gonna care too much about tombstone stuff because I'm really not trying to kill people, and I'm not gonna go for the achievements. I think I might try to unlock some achievements that are just easily available, but. Yeah. I guess I probably also beat the story mode in the Teal Mask DLC for Pokemon, and it was okay. I think the story had maybe one or two neat notes, especially kind of near the end. But in that regard, maybe mostly an interesting setup for the next DLC, I suppose. That said, I'm not sure if I can expect it to be great. Maybe it will be. I'm just wondering what I can expect. Oh well. I think that covers everything I was going to talk about. You might have noticed I haven't worn this shirt in a while. I kind of remembered that, you know, this one isn't in my normal cycle of things. And I haven't been wearing it because I think even when I was working from home, you know, I was wearing whatever shirt I was going to record in during the day, and, you know, this is kind of not something I want to wear to work. Or you have a workplace where you can do that, and that's kind of nice. But definitely, since I'm in an office environment, definitely not that. And I was also not wearing it when I was working from home because I tried to be ready to cam up at a moment's notice, because you never know when, you know, coworker or boss or someone's like, okay, let's can we talk real quick? And sometimes they also want to see, just because it's kind of nice to see the people that you're working with. If that sounds weird, it's because I'm not explaining it completely, and I should probably wrap up this video so that y'all don't have to expect anything else. Because yeah, I can't think of anything else. Hopefully I'll post this video on time tomorrow. Y'all, have a nice week.